If you don't want to overspend on the latest Ryzen generation but still want a decent gaming PC, then the Ryzen 7 5800X3D is the perfect choice for you. That's why I picked carefully the best PC parts you can choose first for the best budget, then the best value, and finally the best mini ITX PC build with this processor. Price information and all PC parts mentioned in the video are available in the description. Let's start with the best budget Ryzen 7 5800X3D PC build. The Ryzen 7 5800X3D is a unicorn of a CPU. It can keep up with the i9-12900K and Ryzen 7 7700 in gaming despite being a last-gen CPU. For budget gamers who don't have a lot of money to spend on the latest LGA 1700 or AM5 platform, the 5800X3D is the way to go. So if you were looking to build a brand new PC under $900, I have put together a PC build with the 5800X3D that will play any game at 1080p 60 frames per second. The first question that would pop into anyone's mind is what GPU will go in. At a tight budget, I always reach out to the RX 6600 for its unbeatable value. At $199, it can play any game at 1080p without breaking a sweat. You can go with any variant of the 6600, but the Gigabyte Eagle is the cheapest one. Even at a low price, it has a pretty overkill cooler, and the GPU never hits above 70 degrees Celsius. For a motherboard that covers all the essentials and saves a buck, I went with a Micro ATX motherboard, the ASRock B550M Pro 2, which simply focuses on practicality. For just $100, you get a board that comes with a solid 8-phase VRM configuration and has a decently sized heatsink, so even a stock 5950X should have no problems running on this. For a motherboard this affordable, it still comes with a great set of rear I/O, including a fast USB Type-C port, 4 DIMM slots, a reinforced PCIe 4.0x16 slot for the graphics card, and 2 M2 slots. For the SSD and RAM, I went with 2 options that are both extremely fast and affordable. The Sabrent Rocket 4.0 is a 1TB PCIe 4.0 M2 SSD that has great read and write speeds of around 4 to 5 gigabytes per second. And for RAM, the Corsair Vengeance LPX 16GB 2x8GB DDR4 3200 CL16 is my favorite DDR4 kit. It is hard to find a kit that balances speed, capacity, and a price tag of under $40. My recommendation for the PSU will always be a strong unit that will grant total peace of mind. For this PC, I picked the Corsair CX650M. It is perfectly adequate for this build, and even has a lot of room for much more powerful GPUs. I would even run the RX 6800 XT on this without any worries. Moving to the PC case, if you're ever in a situation where you want a high-quality case that can fit even the biggest components without airflow problems, but you cannot spend a lot on it, then the Zalman S2 is your savior. Sure, the design isn't going to turn heads, but it is solidly constructed with a minimalistic design, and it even comes pre-installed with 3 120mm fans. It is simply impossible to find a mid-tower case with a better value than the Zalman S2. Finally, for the cooler, I went with the ID Cooling SE214XT. ID Cooling is rising as the champion among super budget coolers. The SE214XT is mind-bogglingly cheap at just $19 and can offer the same level of cooling performance as the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 SE. The Peerless Assassin already impressed me, but ID Cooling simply outclassed them in terms of value. The lower cost of the SE214XT does show, as it is incredibly audible at heavier loads, where the Assassin isn't. Even then, it is completely acceptable, and you'd be hard-pressed to find an air cooler this cheap that can cool an 8-core CPU with ease. In conclusion, the 5800X3D and RX 6600 are an odd pairing, but together it is clear that they are unmatched near the $850 budget. This budget PC has plenty of room for upgrades as well if your budget allows it in the future. You can check all the components mentioned in the description. Before moving to the next PC build, it would really help us continue making more videos if you support us by just hitting the like button and subscribe, or even with a comment so that we know if you like it or if there's something we can do to improve next time. I promise It costs nothing, just a few seconds. So let's move to the best value PC build with the 5800X3D. The Ryzen 7 5800X3D's V-Cache turned a decent CPU into a gaming beast that is sure to last a very long time. This PC is an homage to the 5800X3D that's affordable yet powerful, which will make it relevant for plenty more years to come. All the parts chosen offer exceptional value and offer a strong foundation for a 1440p 60 frame per second gaming PC. For the motherboard, I had a lot of choices to pick from. Ultimately, I went with the Gigabyte B550 AORUS Elite AX V2. This board is geared towards budget overclocking enthusiasts, and it is plenty for the 5800X3D. It can handle even an overclocked 5950X thanks to the 12-phase VRM configuration. The rear I/O is near perfect and covers everything. Even the BIOS flashback button is present here, along with a full array of audio jacks. It also has Bluetooth 5 and Wi-Fi 6, plenty of fast USB 3.2 ports, and even 2 USB 2.0 ports for peripherals. Simply put, if you need a budget board that has premium features, then the Gigabyte B550 AORUS Elite AX V2 is a solid contender. For a board that punches way above its weight, it is equally important to pair it with plenty of RAM and an extremely fast SSD. I went with the Silicon Power Gaming 32GB 2x16GB DDR4 3200 CL16 for the RAM, and the TEAMGROUP Cardea A440 2TB for the SSD. CL16 at 3200 MHz is the sweet spot for finding affordable, fast RAM in large capacities. And while I could have gone with slower RAM with lower latency, this combo will help a lot if you upgrade to a non-X3D CPU like the 5950X. Thankfully, the 5800X3D is a cool chip, and the Thermalright Peerless Assassin 120 SE is going to keep it under very good temperatures without making any sound. The one component that is going to stand out is the XFX Speedster SWFT 319 Radeon RX 6800. It's a powerful GPU for high frame rate 1440p gaming that is also surprisingly efficient. The 16GB VRAM is going to keep this GPU going for a very long time. Another part that should keep you going for a very long time is the Fractal Design Pop Air. It is a bit stubby and boxy in design PC case that screams fun, which is due to the seemingly endless amount of color options. It's a mid-tower ATX case that can fit any sort of computer and is easy to build in while also having incredible airflow. Last but not least, powering this entire rig would be the Be Quiet Pure Power 12M 750W 80 plus gold rated PSU. It is one of the best units that sets a good example of what a great PSU should be. It's powerful and efficient, has all the latest safety features, and has ATX 3.0 compatibility. In conclusion, if you want a PC at an unreasonably phenomenal value with top-of-the-line performance, then this PC takes the cake. The estimated cost is around $1,250, and as always, you can check all the parts mentioned in the description. Let's move to the Mini ITX PC build. The Ryzen 7 5800X3D is one of the most popular CPUs among Mini ITX PC builders. It can keep up with the latest Intel and AMD CPUs while consuming a mere 70 watts because it doesn't need to be overclocked to become a gaming beast. It is hard to pick the right parts for a Mini ITX PC, so if you're looking to build one yourself but are unsure, I've gathered well-tested parts that will easily fit together. Let's start with the motherboard, which is the Gigabyte B550i AORUS Pro AX. It's a decent motherboard with a great VRM configuration that can even handle a stock 5950X. It has a good set of rear I/O with Wi-Fi 6 and Bluetooth 5 and is quite affordable, which is unusual for Mini ITX motherboards as they tend to be unnecessarily expensive. Before we continue with the rest of the build, I want to start with the case. I chose the A4H2O, which is made by Lian Li in collaboration with Dan Case. The main appeal of the A4H2O is its premium build quality at a significantly lower price than the competition. It is a water cooling only case like the Form D T1 and the N Case M1, and is available for much less than both of those. The total volume is a mere 10 liters, which is smaller than many shoeboxes. The cooler I chose for this ITX case is the NZXT Kraken 240, which is a perfect match and will fit with absolutely no issues. The only downside to having this cooler in this case is that you won't be able to see the LCD on the CPU block, since the A4H20 has no tempered glass or acrylic side panel. What is great, though, is that the 5800X3D is extremely efficient and does not need a lot of cooling to prevent thermal throttling. The Kraken 240 will have no issues keeping it under 70 degrees Celsius even during long gaming or work sessions. Since we are working with limited space, I recommend going with at least 32 gigabytes of RAM. It would be a challenge to open apart an ITX PC once it's assembled. I've gone with the Silicon Power Gaming 32 gigabyte 2x16 gigabyte DDR4 3200 CL16, as it is fast and has plenty of memory for gaming for a very long time. The biggest challenge with an ITX case is the ability to fit a graphics card, since they have gotten too big over the past couple of years. The A4H20 is a considerably better case for full-length graphics cards, as it has a separate compartment for them. Lian Li says that the card can be 322 millimeters in length, 150 millimeters high, and 60 millimeters thick. Taking this into consideration, the best card that fits this requirement is the Sapphire Pulse Radeon RX 7800 XT. I chose this card because it is an incredibly fast 1440p GPU while having a very short profile. It is just 280 millimeters in length and would fit in any case, especially the Lian Li A4H20. With such a powerful GPU, it is important to also have a top-tier PSU, which is why I went with the tried and tested Corsair SF750. It fits easily in the Lian Li A4H20 and can handle even a 12900K and RTX 4090, so this PC is going to be no issue for the SF750. Lastly, for storage, I went with the Western Digital Black SN850X 2TB, a top-notch and reliable M2 PCIe SSD that doesn't break the bank. 2 TB should be a minimum for ITX builds due to M2 slot limitations, and it reduces the need to more frequently upgrade. In conclusion, if you want the best possible performance in the smallest possible size with the Ryzen 7 5800X3D at its core, then this mini PC build will satisfy your desires. Everything is chosen to fit perfectly without the need to tune anything once the PC is assembled. It is a tiny PC that would barely take up any space on a desk. All these for an estimated cost of $1,650, and you can always check all the components in the description.